to see if anyone comes on. I'll be able to, I always do the talking. I want to see if anyone has questions they would like to ask besides the questions I'm going to answer on YouTube, which I'm putting out there for tomorrow. But let me see if anyone comes on. It's about 12:51 a.m. I'm seeing on the clock. Yes, let's see if anyone comes on. Today is 3-3. What is 3-3? 3-3 is what I would describe spiritual and physical elements, spiritual and the human elements. Yeah. What merges together in spiritual and physical. And it can be quite a trick to merge both aspects of self. Wow. Well, one of the messages that I heard today when I woke up, and I just kept sleeping and sleeping and sleeping. I slept for about 9.5 hours. And I dug deeper into myself as far as how I value myself. That's what I did. And I just started to feel the sadness, just sadness of people. And I started feeling into how the average person just is unconscious. And I use the word unconscious because it's like I find myself feeling things before it happens, while it's happening, and ahead of time. So I'm in the past and the present and the future simultaneously. I already know what thought is coming before it finishes from a person, and I can feel the energy or the explanation of what is to come or what the outcome is going to be. So it kind of gets to be frustrating for me because I already know the outcome of what is going to happen, and then I also have to allow free will to take place while I'm still in my zone and I'm still processing. Greetings, Mechita. I'm just talking to myself, but then I'm also just talking about what my findings are so far for the past several hours, and what is being shown to me by spirit, not only based on my own experience but anyone else that I'm interacting with. And it's just so much going on in the collective consciousness. There's fears coming up, blocks, misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and it's like I find myself feeling the thoughts ahead and feeling the thought in the present and feeling the thought in the past. So I already know what's going to happen ahead of time. I'm also present and I'm in the past. So it's like I can feel the vibration in my solar plexus as to what each person is thinking and feeling. I've had to keep processing through energy, dense energy through my daughter. And there's this constant criticism, critical and thing. And I'm like, wow. So I can feel that whatever is showing as the opposition, that working through this alchemy is a matter of, no matter what you do, it just has to be the positive and the negative. It has to be the positive and the negative. You can't separate from it. And it's a matter of pushing through it like fire. I was watching a video, and this young lady, I listen to her now and then, and this has to do with the embodiment of the Christ. And when I talk about the embodiment of the Christ, I don't go into a physical person that was written in history that went up on a cross to be crucified, because that's not what took place. It had to do with the alchemy of the mind, body, and soul, the physical body, what we have to burn through when we go through all the different aspects of self. when you find yourself facing the opposition, and then you feel good inside, and then there's the opposition, and then there you feel good inside. And you know, if you hold back on any feelings that you have, that's you going against yourself. You're going against yourself. And by the time I decided to finally wake up out the bed, as I found myself processing through thoughts to do with my well-being, and I just felt like, why do I have to go through this every single time? And then of course, you know, the phone, I hear the phone ringing, and oh, this has to be taken care of, and what has to be done. And I'm at a point where it doesn't even matter to have to explain to anyone. I'm going through some deep spiritual things here, like really deep spiritual stuff here. I'm having to process through my own shit, stuff that's attached to my family. Because, you know, even if I'm with my family, I'm processing through each and every single person that my body is interacting with. And I found myself being irritated with everyone in my family that I was with yesterday, okay? And they wouldn't even understand fully. And it's either a part of them is living unconsciously, they're not in full awareness, and it doesn't even matter to me whether if anyone wants to think, oh, does she know better than me? It's just where I'm at. I'm like so far ahead in the future, and I felt like I've pulled myself back down enough, and I'm no longer doing it. Like I'm really at another level of fuck this shit. That's how I feel. And all I could do was remember myself in the past, who I was, and the fact that I know what it takes. I know what it feels like to be in the new kingdom, the new earth. I know what it's like and what it takes for me to get there. And I just feel like I just don't give a rat's ass how anybody else feel like, oh, well, you know, I'm at this level, I'm at that level, and I'm going to keep moving along. I'm going to keep moving along. So if I roar like a lion and I'm too loud, because that's what sometimes comes from my daughter, and then another one might feel like, oh, but that's not what it's supposed to be, I'm still going to be. I'm still going to be, because I know what works, because I've lived it before. The only difference why it did not complete its manifestation was because of the opposition that came from others. One, they're miserable themselves. Two, they don't like for you to be in joy. Three, they also are not in their own power. Okay? And four, it is the nature of the humans to destroy what they don't understand, what they choose not to understand, what they choose not to let go of, what they choose to not want to look at, and stay in denial. Stay in denial. That's where I see it. So I've always been observing human behavior for so long, and I look and I was like, ain't that a bitch? And then I said, you know what? I'm doing less talking now. I am. I'm doing less talking. I said I might as well talk to myself, and that's why I'm looking forward to when the book actually does get published, because that way I am not going to be speaking to anyone who's not interested in what I have to say. I am using and utilizing my life force for anyone who's interested in what I have to say, because they're interested in being at the place where I am at, consciously, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. I had to go through my initiations for such a long time. What I've had to pull through, walk through, push through, fight through, laugh through, smile, cuss, speak, silent, strong, weak, happy, sad. I had to go through all these elements, and I still do. I still do. And, you know, I'm not going to say the world is not ready for this, because guess what? The cosmos doesn't give a fuck where you're at. They really don't. Because it just keeps moving and moving and moving and rolling and moving and shifting and transmuting. And that's just the way it is. And so we can say, well, I'll just wait till next week. No, it's happening now. It's happening right now, right now. So this is what my best advice for those who really say, I'm trekking it forward. And even if what I say to you triggers the fuck out of you, because that's what it's going to do, you're going to be triggered. Like if people out there still want to accept that, they believe that, you know, Jesus, Yeshua was on a cross and that he was crucified. Well, I have to tell you the truth. It's going to really cut you up, or however you may respond to it, but that's not what happened. That was shown to me. Okay, when I started out on my path, I'd call it my full-blown path, because I know I've been awakened from the time I was in my mother's womb. And when I came out, I was like, what the heck is this? And I knew that because when I looked at the pictures of myself when I was 3 years young, I looked sad. I was really sad. I mean, you could see the sadness in my face, like, why am I here? So the 3-year-old in me here right now, as I'm looking at you, has said now and then, why am I here? You know, and it may seem like as if it's just going to be such a long time before anything changes, but that's not true, because the changes are happening here whether anyone likes it or not. It's either you piss on the pot or you get off the pot. It's either you get on the train and you get on that train where, I remember I haven't taken trains in about 20 years when I used to live in the city of New York. And I remember you could either get on the express or you go local. And let me tell you something, I never liked going on the local. You know why? Because it was too slow. The vibration in different places is so dense and so low, and I'm like, can't anyone feel it? And for me, I'm not interested in being on the slow ride. I'm already on the fast ride. My body is just catching up to the higher part of myself that's already here. She's planted and he's planted within me. And it may look like and appear as if we're waiting on the masculine to awaken to himself, or what takes place with them moving forward. But guess what? Let me tell you something, females. This is for the females that embody the feminine and masculine energy. We are the ones that are creating the new earth. We're the ones that is giving birth to this new reality. If you feel you're at a place where you can't cuss till this day, I'll tell you, I don't know what else to say. And I say cuss because you're going to be coming from this force that's even stronger than ever before. And that means you're going to be speaking volumes and loud. And I realize why more than one person has said to me, wow, Sharon, you really embody the entire divine feminine. I said, oh, you see it, huh? You know, and I'm not afraid to say it anymore. I'm not afraid. I'm not dimming anymore to who I am. I'm not keeping myself subjected to if someone else is not comfortable, because then go heal yourself and see what more there is to explore about yourself, and stop waiting and waiting and waiting. And if you're complaining and complaining and complaining because there's something more within yourself to activate and to push her and him forward, when you start to move in the direction of all the parts of yourself, that's what creates something else for you, within you and outside of you, you see? And guess what? When you graduate and go to the next level, you're going to face another opposition, because that's exactly how I realize that's what happens through me every single time. Notice I said through me, because I'm not attaching to what comes through to me and then it stays there. So I don't put myself in victim mode. I said it happens through me. It comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. You eat, you shit, you drink, comes out. Everything comes in and goes out. And the energy that you take with you. At the moment that you see something doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, speak out and say it loud. Say it loud. Say it loudly. There's times when you may not say anything, but then there's times when you say something. Something that doesn't look and feel right. See, there's so much that has been so suppressed with the feminine energy. I feel that the programming goes so deep and in so many layers that we subconsciously walk around, pretend, or if you're not pretending, it's like you're not fully aware, you know? And I say this because with the deepest sense of love and the deepest sense of I fucking mean it, because there is so much suppression into who you should be and not who we are as the divine feminine. You know, like really. And it's so sad what I see and what I hear. Oh, don't do this. Oh, yeah, you better do that. and still not realizing that when you get angry, that's a part of your spiritual path. Okay? Getting angry, feeling frustrated, feeling annoyed and irritated, guess what? It is a part of your spiritual sacred alchemy. That is what Yeshua went through. That's what the crucifixion is. That's what going through the birthing pains is all about. And then you go back into joy, and then the joy also attracts the sadness and the irritation and the annoyance that happens around with people. We can't run away from them. Can't run away from it. So we're still going through that a constant reprogramming and processing of energy to the point where you won't even feel like you have to do anything because it's already happening within you, because you're in your power. When you're in your power, that means, again, when you see something or hear something, you don't turn your face the other way and act like it's not there. You still say something and do something. Greetings, Kelly. Yes. So if someone is stupid and they're a dummy, you say it to their face and then let them stop and think why, and point it out to them. Why do you feel that way? And I'm saying it in the sense of how we apply divine intelligence along with the downloads that you receive, and that it's time for people to start making conscious choices and be in awareness. Being in awareness. You see? So I thought about many topics that I could always talk about to give examples, because, I'm not going to make it surface, because I know some people feel like certain things you don't say it and talk about it like, oh, it's going to be a taboo, and oh no, that we can't talk about those things because it's too upsetting. But if we don't talk about it, get it out the motherfucking way, how are we going to move forward with what we're creating on the new earth? You know what I mean? So therefore we speak about it. You don't stay too long in it, and you let it move its merry way, so we can embody what does it feel like and what makes up the new earth. Because I believe that there are most people that are walking around, everyone's on their different level of awakening and what they're processing and all that stuff. And yes, there's times when we may feel, well, I don't really need to say anything because they need to find out for themselves. But don't stay in the quiet corner and don't say anything. You know what I'm saying? You still say something, even if you're not saying it directly at them, but you say it out loud anyway, because they're going to hear it anyway. That's why when I was at the fair on Saturday, and I'm always observing everything, and I could feel everybody's energy. Doesn't matter. I don't have to have a conversation with you to know what I'm picking up on with you, because I read energy. It's amazing how with my kids, like, they still do shit, even though I can sense what they're doing. And I can hear and feel the thought. How did you know? Well, hello, dummies. I can read the energy. So as I feel you, and I hope you work on feeling me, this is how we work hand in hand, and how we really amp up how we're connecting to one another, instead of just blindly walking by and pretending as if something's not there or something's not existent. It's just so fucking incredible. I gotta say it just like that. You see, being conscious and aware. So, and like I said, I find myself recently, I'm ahead with the thoughts, behind with the thoughts, and present with the thoughts. So I already know what's gonna come, what's coming, what happened, and what's next. And then it's like I'm looking, I'm saying, doesn't anybody else see this or feel this, or anybody, and when I say anybody else, anyone else around me, anyone, whatever. Because we can regurgitate the same thing, but if we still don't address, it's going to repeat itself. And that's one of the reasons why we have the Mercury retrogrades. The full moon is coming up in Virgo, from what I know. And that's why I'm feeling that annoyance energy that's around, in the things that we don't like, what we feel uncomfortable with, the stuff that we tippy-toe around and feel like, oh, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, or, because it's a tradition, because, they have this Lent season, and then arguments come up about who eat meat and who eat vegetables, and still it comes back to the same squabbling thing about what you need to do, but not looking at what part of yourself do you need to be and to heal. And address the issues, address This triggers, all these triggers that show up over and over and over again, you know. So I go back to what I was processing today, and I was going backwards and backwards and backwards, and I said, okay, I didn't address the thing to do with the broom, because I remember when I did the broom thing that was going on, and it has to do with the gravitational pull on the planet. And then when someone messaged me and said, oh, you know, this was happening before, da 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 da. Yeah, but guess what? Whatever happened 10 years ago, that was in a different energy. We're in 2020. That's a new energy. There is a gravitational pull happening on the planet. So things are pulling closer to who we are embodying as our true selves. You can't hide away from yourself anymore. You can't hide away from the stuff that you need to look at and what you need to work on with your own personal healing, or who you need to separate from, or what you need to shift, or what you need to change, or what you need to speak up about. Speaking up is very, very, very important right now, is what I feel. Okay? Because why I say that, we all carry energy from with the collective consciousness. I literally woke up feeling the fear of people so much, thinking about the coronavirus. So much. And then all these messages coming to me, and it's like I look at it and I just delete, not looking at it. I'm not looking at it. Because the vibration of what's being sent to me is based on that person's fear, and someone else's fear that's transferring from another person's fear and another person's fear. And that's why I keep talking and emphasizing about to complete the circle. We look at the things that are being addressed in front of us, how it affects the collective. We have empathy and sympathy, but then we also understand what is the meaning and the purpose with the illnesses of the body and the stuff that is created. I am not going to go into conspiracy and all this, the dark forces and all the dark. Stop. The dark forces and the dark energy, guess what? Is the same people that you're motherfucking walking around with all over the place, okay? Whether it's train station, cars, mobiles, you're driving on the highway, guess what? All those dark energies you're talking about is all within those people that embody that energy. That's where it's coming from, okay? And I know that because I went through my own initiation on what fears that came up through from the collective, family members, lineage, and all that stuff. And I stopped myself and I said, okay, because I always listen to spirit. And they said, okay, it was the daylight broke out. And they said, look at the ground. When I looked at the ground, I saw the dust. And I said, oh, wait a minute. I didn't see that before. And they said, well, why do you think you didn't see it? I said, oh, because it was dark in the room. But when daylight came, I was able to see it. So that's where you apply common sense. And I said, wow, what you can't see, what's hidden, you're going to have a perception about it. And then it moves into fear, and the fear builds up, and then something starts to create within you with that fear that you embody, and you walk around with it. And almost every little thing is going to be labeled as dark forces, and everything is going to constantly be a fear of something. You see? And when you focus on it and you keep repeating the stories over and over again, what happens? It becomes real. It becomes real. It starts to manifest. If you're not able to balance out your own inner feelings and thoughts, and where does it come from? What's the root cause of something? Then it can move its way into some type of manifestation. That's where it starts from. You see? So the broom, we go back to the broom. The broom actually stayed in the hallway standing for a whole week till it finally collapsed. Then it wouldn't stand up straight again. And I asked Charlize, I said, well, did you try it again to see? And she said, yeah, but it just wouldn't stand up. I said, okay. Because you see, that's what I do. I always apply the physical and the energy at the same time, because that's what we're here to do. If you know something that's existing in your physical world, are you applying it also into the spiritual realm as well? That's why we're in Pisces, because it's the element of what you can't see and what you see, as we're merging both worlds together. And it's still merging. It doesn't, I'm going to merge today and then it stops. It is an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. So, and even with the thoughts that you have and the fear you have and what you've been taught and all the blocks and things that you experience and go through and you don't understand, you understand, it's okay. And as you go through each element, and you empower yourself and you know what the truth is, guess what? You're going to go through another layer and another layer and another layer, and you feel stronger. And then all of a sudden your soul is going to create another experience that may flow through someone else, and they may just say one word to you and it triggers you and you go back into fear again. You see? So I'm going to go to the virus, right? That was created, and it's so crazy that even people are not even drinking Corona beer because they actually really think that you could get the virus from the beer. That's how retarded it gets. Okay? Seriously. And I have to say it like it is. I have to say this because, see, this is where intelligence doesn't come in, and also connecting to the all there is, connecting to source, to know and to feel what is the truth, what is really manifesting here, what is really occurring here. And so when I feel into the energy, several reasons, okay? Because it's never more than one reason when something is happening. It's always more than one reason why something is happening. There's always another thing that we are creating, because we're moving through the energies of what we create and also what we destroy. And when I say when we go into the anger, the righteous anger, I'm thinking of the Kali energy, the feminine energy that's Kali, where she's with this force that's within a force. And the element of that force, it destroys. And then we give birth again to something new again. And then we destroy. And it's just a constant recycle, birth, death cycle. And some of it may be forced like an earthquake, a calamity, something destroyed, and then something come back again that forms into something else. You see, the difference is that which is being destroyed, or what is being, reconstructed, going through a reconstruction type of energy, is we're reconstructing and rebuilding in a new way of thought, a new way of feeling, a new way of connecting to one another, a new way of being more conscious about your life and others around you, where you're tapped in and you're connecting to everything and all things, not leaving anything out of the equation, picking up all the pieces to your puzzle. Okay, you're not responsible for anybody else's puzzle but your own. You might be aware of what may be happening and think of how it relates to you in a minuscule sense, because we're still all connected to one another. So the person who may have this and have that, they're connected to you on some level with something, because everything breaks down in elements. Everything expands also in meaning and consciousness to what you're experiencing, you see? And so when I think of, or what Spirit shows me to do with the viruses, because that's not the only virus and diseases of the mind and the body that exist. There's so many of them out there. And where does it start from? It starts from thoughts and consciousness. So even if someone did create it, the actual virus itself and the cure, okay, because it is the nature of man to create and destroy, right? Love to experiment, just like a child, curious. Ooh, I want to try this and see what happens. A thought in you might say, well, something bad might happen, but something good can happen too. How about something bad might happen and something good also occurs? Because that's how life is. Whatever we may perceive as bad, something good is coming out of it. Something is happening. We are becoming something. Okay, we're moving back into unity consciousness. To move into unity consciousness, that means that something that is creating the block towards unity must break itself down. So therefore, the viruses and illnesses will come forth for something to break down. And so it's going to pull people together to start looking out for one another, either looking for a cure, looking for how we can heal mentally, spiritually and emotionally. Okay. Move into a space also of how we can view and see ourselves with the power we know and have within each other. You see, like when, the Christians talk about faith, okay? And then for us who are light workers, we may look at it as, where are we in consciousness? But how about if it's all of it together? You see? And also, it's so important to be conscious of how you're feeling and what you're thinking about this and everything else, in your life, because that's what makes up what you receive. You see, if you believe you're going to get something, you will get it. If you focus on something, and if you know that that something is something that's going to bring fear into your heart, then why are you going to keep looking at it? You know, why? You have to ask yourself why. Okay? So you're aware of it, but then where is it placing you energetically? You see? So that's one reason, or reasons, or reasoning. You know, in my country we say, boy, we sit down and we're going to reason with one another. And when we say reason, that means that we're going to sit down and talk about this, and talk about, you know, what's in the reality, what we see and what we don't see, because there's always something behind the scenes that's going on. You may not be able to see all of it, but you sure can move yourself in the direction of having a better understanding of it. You see, because it will make a difference for you and everyone else around you. So that means that even at the time, if you hear someone else talking about it, you ask them, why are you still talking about it? What is it doing for you? And how is it changing your thought process and pattern, your own personal healing, your own projections? Okay. What else do you feel is this occurring? Can you see that it's also a part of the ascension and the awakening process as well? Just as much as Trump being in office, that's a part of the awakening and ascension process, you know? And I also had said in one of my videos, I don't remember which one of them, because this also applies. There are many, many souls that are contracted to leave this planet. They're just getting out of Dodge. The time is here. It's not coming. It's already here. I always knew and felt the age of Aquarius is not something where it's just going to come in like a plane just landing like boom out of the sky. No, it's already been coming in. It's almost like it sneaks in like a thief in the night. And that means that everything around you is changing rapidly. And I said that there are many souls that agreed that they were going to be leaving during this time, because either they would have worked through their life review, decided that they're going to be ascending while they're in the body, or there's some who are choosing to ascend outside the body. There's some who are also transitioning, that are helping many that are on the twin soul path, because there's so much that twin souls have to process through this time with the awakening. Oh my God. It's like an understatement. You know, it takes so much to have to filter through. And so some of the energy that has been embodied is leaving through family members, friends, perhaps, or anyone that you know, to leave the planet, because it's freeing up more energy for what we are creating. If something is not good and it's rotten somewhere, I'm not labeling it as rotten, but I'm just giving an example. You're going to have to clean it up, right? Because if you're not going to mix up something that's no good and something that's good together, because what will happen is, what do you think takes place? Whatever is not good is going to overtake it, and it's going to become corrupted just as well. So that's why we have to keep pushing through and processing things through this sacred alchemy. You see what I'm saying? To create that freer energy, and also what releases from us, so that way we are embodying more love in our hearts. Yep, embodying more love. And so as the ones who are transitioning, there's like an element of souls that are also coming in, because I was also receiving downloads about actually my future daughter. Yeah, my future daughter. So I felt the energy of my future daughter coming in, and what I was going to be naming her, and also her sister. And I said, you know what, let me take up the phone and record the name, because I didn't want to forget it. And so what I heard is like there was like a portal of these souls that are waiting to come in, and they're coming in at a specific time. It's going to be a specific moon and sun placement on the earth. And what this is doing is bringing in these newer codes of sacred geometry, sacred alchemy, sacred love, sacred divine families. Okay, the monetary system is also being affected. That's another reason for this virus. It's affecting the economy everywhere, and for good reason. You know why? Because everything that happened in the past, where our indigenous people, colored people, anyone who had been dishonored, disrespected, you name it, okay, it must balance itself out. It must come into that part of itself that completes the cycle of what it experienced on the opposite side of the spectrum. So everything else is going to move and keep alternating and moving in the direction to complete that karmic cycle of what the soul, the overall encompassing soul, desire to experience, desire to look at and observe and say, okay, I choose to experience this, but the only way you can experience this of who you are as I am, you're going to experience I am not. So that way, when you see I am not, you can look at it and say, oh, I choose myself to be this because I see what I'm not. Even though I am not, it's still you. It's still you. It's still you. And so those who are in the twin soul path is the same thing. There are many of you who may be completing the cycles of what you have been experiencing in this lifetime and other lifetimes that are happening simultaneously, of where you may be as that person or the opposite of that person, and you're integrating the newer codes within the balancing of yourselves and also what you came here to master together, and what you're also embodying on a template on this land or country or wherever you are. You see? And as we're moving through these cycles of what is breaking down and tearing down, what happens is you will start to feel yourself becoming more empowered. And as you become more empowered, you're going to feel the freedom within yourself with this. And that includes that you will also work your way through even more detachment from everything and all things around you, and what you hear, what you see, what you feel, because you remember that it is a part of the process of what must be, you see, and that we all created this. We all did this for ourselves, by ourselves. There's also a lot of interplanetary assistance that we're receiving, okay? Sirius, Palladians, Arcturian. There's also the black hole is also assisting us. So you may find yourself feeling a lot of solar plexus activity. You might be feeling a lot of density in your womb space or in your stomach area, the navel. You might find yourself feeling more constipated, okay? Because everything or anything that's there is going to store itself in one place, and then it has to work its way to breaking down. And you're not going to experience it all in one take. It's just going to keep processing on different ways. You may find yourself feeling like you can't eat anymore, how you're eating food or what food you eat, you might not be able to digest it the same. So every time when that happens, it's because you're going through something else that's removing and releasing the blocks that you have within your solar plexus. Your solar plexus is also that place of where you are creating all that creativity, how you're connected to your twin. Everything that you're also manifesting in your reality is affected by your solar plexus, you see? So that's why sometimes it'll feel like something's about to happen, then it slows down, then it comes again, then it looks like it's not going to happen, and then it happens, because we're moving through so much dichotomy, and the dichotomy itself is what it represents as the positive and the negative polarity. And the way that we create is through the polarity. We cannot create only from one side. Oh, I'm only going to create on the positive side. I'm going to stay only on the positive side. You're going to create on both sides. You're going to create through the anger. You're creating through the frustration. You're creating through the disappointments. You're creating through your sadness. You're creating through the loneliness, the despair, all of that. The key is, how long am I going to stay down there? Am I going to remember to shift over to the other side as well, even while I am feeling the despair, the despondency, the anger, the frustration, the bitterness, however, whatever it is that is the shadow part of you, and or it could even be your twin that's experiencing it and you're feeling it, okay? Because that's how it works. That's how it works. And because you are one soul in two bodies, so you're sharing the same energetic frequency. It's never one-sided, like, oh, take this, oh, it's your fault, oh, look what you did to me, da da da, look at this person and victim. It's just that's not it. That's not it. And so as you are creating, or how you are creating, it starts to come together, especially when you come into the acceptance of both sides, and you bring yourself back to that neutral space of the all there is in who you are, okay, inside and outside of you. So here's the thing, the kicker that I had to laugh at myself with when I said, you know what, whenever anything I'm experiencing, however I'm feeling, I'm going to say, oh, I feel so happy how I'm creating so and so and so on both sides of the spectrum. And therefore, this gratitude that I have is just so magnificent. Now, it is a level of sarcasm, but guess what? It's the truth. It's the truth. It's both sides of the spectrum that things are happening, that things are being created, that things are moving forward. You see? And, you know, it's like there's nothing that is just waiting and waiting and waiting. No, it's already happening whether you're consciously aware of it or not. You see? And so the most important thing too is that everything that you are experiencing that feels like that trigger for you, or irritating for you, or upsetting, or it's you know, like you're waiting and you feel impatient. You know, I told this lady Saturday, I said, you know, who says that being impatient is not a positive thing? Who made that up? Who said that that's what that is, right? Or if it's the dark side or the shadow side, you know, what if that's a positive side and being patient is not positive? I'm just, you know, hey, you know, so because we could all be as patient as we could ever be, but then we're also impatient and patient at the same time. You see? And I feel like when those emotions start to flow through us, when we are moving to the next level, it's because you are making what is unconscious conscious, because we keep all of those suppressed feelings inside of us and pretend as if we don't feel it, as if we're tippy-toeing around each other like, oh, I don't want my spiritual sister or brother to hear me because they may say I'm not being spiritual enough, or I don't want to look like I'm not on that level with them. Stop. Okay, because this is the facts. This is what it really is, you know? Let's keep it real, because I keep it very motherfucking real, okay? And I know that when I feel what I feel, I'm going to state how I feel. And I'm going to allow it to flow and express through me. You see, because when I do that, what I'm doing is that's how I'm freeing up what's hidden deep in the subconsciousness of who I have been, who I am, and anyone else that is connected through me. See? And as we peel the layers and allow it to show itself and you recognize it, then at that moment when you see it, you say, okay, now that I see where the frustration is coming from, or this is coming from, if there's something for me to do, and then we can say, well, how do we deal with it then? At that moment that you're feeling it, honor it. Honor it. Give honor to what you are feeling. Give honor to what you're experiencing. Give it honor. Yeah. And then when you do that, then you allow the other side of yourself to say, okay, I feel that. Now what? Right? And then you let it out. So whether you let it out emotionally with crying, screaming, shouting, stomping, walking, getting in a tub of water, okay, crystal salts, laughing. Laughter helps. And did I say shouting? Oh, that helps a lot, because it's something that's moving out of you like a force field. It's moving out of you, and it's allowing you to express energy that has been dormant within you, that could be tied to lineage as well, and past lives that you've had with, someone or someone else that you may be connected to, that has just been stuck right there. You see, and we've been told not to feel, not to express, not to say anything, because we don't want to step on anyone's toes, or this person may be in power, and you feel like if I express myself, then it's going to put me in a very bad position. And what if I lose this, or what if that happens? And it's all these things that we have to think about, where we place ourselves on one side of the spectrum, and what it may or may not do for you later on, or even right now, you know. So I go to the next thing too that I really have to come in really briefly about too, is even the situation, or what occurred with Oprah and Gail. Again, that was something that had to come up through the collective, that showed how some of our colored people, in how we have betrayed one another and point fingers also at one another, is as far as speaking up when something doesn't look right. So when I looked at it on all sides of the spectrum, we have two people, females in power that are of color, that were bringing down the element of our black men or colored men or indigenous men, okay, who have also hold that template of being and feeling enslaved and dishonored, okay, and they felt dishonored by the feminine. And these two females in feminine and masculine energy have experienced things of the past that has affected them with the from males, okay, whether no matter what race, and they have not healed from it. And so that personal attack comes against the black males who feel disempowered, as if they're not worthy of anything. And so when anyone goes into a relationship with someone, then what happens is it creates this sort of like opposition to one another, and it's like there's no honor being placed on both sides. So I really feel like it was very important for Snoop Dogg to say how he felt. I may not agree with him saying that he'll come after her, but I feel it was very important for him to have said what he said, okay? And, you know, till this day, Miss Gayle has not apologized for the inappropriateness that she brought out into the public open. Not, again, what would I say earlier? Being conscious of Vanessa and her children and how they may be feeling, because Gayle was not interested in putting herself in someone's shoes because she probably never experienced it. So just because you didn't experience something doesn't mean that you cannot put yourself in that place of being conscious or having some empathy about how someone else would feel, or how would you feel if you had a child or someone you love that was killed so rapidly, and you're still processing that pain to know that someone is creating drama and slander against that person. You see? So we can't blame someone for speaking out, because why? Because we reached to that boiling point where we have to say something. And this is the typical thing, that as soon as Snoop Dogg says something, the backlash comes against him because he said something. You see? Which he represents the aspect of the masculine that is in pain from feeling dishonored as well. And we place a lot of emphasis on the divine feminine being dishonored, but I'm also going to place emphasis on the divine masculine that has been dishonored, and not also put in a place of being able to speak up and to speak their truth and how they feel. And then we think about the ones that they were also judging and criticizing that have committed sexual crimes against women, such as Cosby and R. Kelly and all that stuff. And people say, oh, why are you playing the music? Oh, you doing that? But, you know, if you're going to go against someone, make sure you go deep within yourself with other people that have also committed the same or similar crimes, and say something about that before you judge. You see, there is a saying that two wrongs don't make a right. But I tell you this, that if you get to the root of why someone did something, that's where you create a healing space for one another. You see, so we must go to the healing point, the turning point, and the sponsoring thought of why something happens. When we get to the sponsoring thought of why something happens, then we will be able to move forward. And it's something that cannot be ignored, because this is what's ingrained in the collective consciousness. It's in the collective consciousness. And I also have been feeling dishonored also for the past few days, and feeling as if I wasn't valuing myself, and feeling as if, you know, my own worth is not counted. And so I said, well, I have to count it for myself, and where I'm placing my energy, and how I'm also viewed because of how I feel about myself and what I'm worth, you see? And so that's why I had to make my own conscious decisions in my own power and my own merit of who I am. And because I chose to be that, I then started to receive more energy and feeling of being honored, you see? And I didn't have to say anything. It just started to happen. But if we don't step to the plate and we don't speak up and speak our truth, when we know that something is not right, or when someone does something that we know that it has been repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating, and you don't say anything, guess what? Then the energy stays there. And if you think that it doesn't affect you because someone else will take care of it, you're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself, you see? And this is what it means to have a healthy, conscious conversation, living consciously, being in awareness of what it is that exists out there, what is going on, whether it's internal, or, your own surroundings, the outside world. It is still something that has to be looked at, discussed, and then you look into your own life as to how can I now start being conscious and aware of something that has affected me or someone else, so that way I know I'm freeing up that space of what has been a block to my own union or a block to my own true love. You see? And it has been such a, what do I say, like a cast on love to even talk about love, you know? To talk about love. Love that feels so good inside, and the average person turns and runs away from it. To hear a song, to sing a melody, to get up and dance, to feel alive again. And it's so sad because it's like the conversations to do with what's wrong and killings and mass murders, and if I want to share things to do with this coronavirus, or I want to talk about what somebody else is doing, or what, and if anything else that is bringing in joy or something that is like a childlike thing, is not as exciting, you see. But the world is not going to exist this way for for very long, because we're moving in the direction of divine love. We're moving in the direction of divine love and connecting to one another and speaking up and living and being our truths. You see, living and being our truths. So, like someone had put out on Facebook that there was a contest to go meet Gail and Oprah. And I wrote in that thing and I said, first of all, why would I want to do that when they're not even living in integrity? Huh? Why would I do that? Is it so much that we place so much people on a pedestal and think that, because they have money and they're this and successful, that means that I'm in alignment with my truth? No. And that's the part what I'm talking about when I say with speaking. I'm not saying that you have to get involved with every single thing. All I'm saying is that each time that you take to point out something that's not in integrity, that's not in alignment with how we are recreating the new earth, then you say something. You say something. And if necessary, you do something. You correct it. You speak from your heart. You speak from your soul. You see, because as we're getting closer and closer to the March Equinox, which represents the balance of the light and the shadow. And when we balance something out, that means that we're either saying something, taking action, speaking out, feeling love still at the same time, not being attached, but we're still moving forward. See? We're moving forward with the truth, marching forward with the truth. As we're in the month of March, happy March, we're marching on. You see, we're marching on. We're bringing together all the elements of self that we had decided that we were just going to pick it apart and pick it apart and pick it apart and separate it and separate it and separate it, and all this duality. And now that we've had all these dual experiences and polarity experiences, we're merging all the sides of self together and bring it forth. And it's important, again, for each one who's in the female body, and you are in whether masculine or feminine, because right now I'm in a lot of masculine energy for the past several weeks, okay, which I feel that my twin is more in his feminine energy than I am, because I almost felt like I felt it like tears, when I woke up this morning, and I said I knew I was feeling something, I was having all these dreams to do with him, and I felt all this sadness and stuff like that, and I knew there was something I was picking up and sensing, to also to connecting to the collective, you see. And so I just said I had to just sit with it and understand it and understand how I was feeling. And I started going into the new kingdom, how it was before when I was on the earth and during that time. And then all I could think of is how everything was working together. Everything was flourishing. Everything was moving towards love all the time. You see? All the time. And so in those times, it was that opposition that says, I don't want to see happiness. Which I go through that at times, where somebody else is not as happy and they're miserable. They're miserable. So guess what? I'm not going to join you. Me not join in your misery. See, I'm going to keep it rolling in my joy. You see, and again, one of the key things is as we are creating, that means you're going to speak up and speak volumes and speak the truth. And it's important for both the divine feminine and the divine masculine to speak your truth and speak it freely, and not be afraid to speak it. You see? Because sitting back in the corner and just being someplace else only is not kicking it, as one would say. It's not kicking it. There's more to who we are, especially those on the twin soul path, because we have had to trek through so much stuff because we said we were going to come forward and bring in this new covenant, the new style of being, the new way of being on this earth plane. You see? And it is mighty powerful. It roars like a lion and a lioness. You just got to find her within you. Find her within you. And you will see how much more of that strength that you empower within you in that masculine energy, because you're blending both of yourselves together. That's what this is. And not leaving her and him out, her and him out. You see? Her and him out. And that's one of the things that I wanted to speak on and talk about, you know, because even however I was feeling this evening, I can't even say this morning, I said to myself, you know what, I could be just thinking all these thoughts and it's all for nothing. And sure enough, when I woke up, you know, there was something for me, and I was like, wow, it really was for nothing. I said, okay, I had to work through something emotional. It was about this percentage, I would say. It was about that percentage. And I realized, okay, now I'm going to process all the information that was spoken to me through Source, because I felt the energy and the presence of Source saying that that we're really merging deeper. It's like it makes me feel like when you're weaving into something, and it's like we're weaving in all the parts of yourself to the feelings and thoughts and emotions from past times and past lives and this current life, and it's all attaching to the solar plexus. And as it is coming and weaving through the solar plexus, we're releasing like, how do I say it? Not even say releasing, it's more like accepting the that part of yourself that you thought that you couldn't move through, and you're melding it together. You're melding it together, because when you start walking and you feel this empowerment within yourself, it's like, it's almost like you feel like you're a titan. That's how it feels. See? So it's like someone doesn't have to necessarily be 7 feet tall to be a giant. You can be a giant just from what you're embodying within yourself with your own inner power. See? And it molds and blends together with masculine and feminine, because you're moving in the direction of speaking your truth from your heart, knowing what feels right, and that you're connecting to the collective consciousness of how we are forming a new creation here. Okay, things are being created differently. And as a matter of fact, even in New York, March 1st was when there was no more plastic bags. No more plastic bags. You got to bring your own bag. So you see, we're moving towards the change of how we recycle. We're moving towards the change of certain materials that make certain things, and certain ingredients, and it's just so many things that are changing and changing and changing. You know, anything that may affect the body is also changing. You know, and it's saying that if certain things, that if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So think about every part of yourself that you are afraid to touch. Okay, when I say touch, meaning I'm talking about your emotions. If you feel like you don't want to touch your emotions, or I don't want to go that way, if you are not really fully expressing your emotions, I'm being so freaking real. If you're not expressing your emotions, that means that you are still in fear of who you are, and in fear of everyone and everything else outside of you. If you feel you can't say something to a boss, a spouse, or someone who is treating you indifferently, that is also you're allowing yourself to be or feel dishonored, then that is something deeper for you to go into, because being empowered and being in your power means you're going to speak your truth. So I'm going to leave you on this note. as I only have 25 seconds remaining. I shall be back on tomorrow because I will finally be doing the question and answers live on YouTube. I thank you for joining me. I am in gratitude for everything coming together for each and every one of us on our sacred union paths. And so it is, as I leave you with a song from A Wrinkle in Time.